they start killing people like they have in the past, I think they're going to get hit very hard by the United States.
شرافت مندانه نیست. شرافت مندانه نیست.
A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the three key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime, Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan.
Hello, my name is Jugnu Mohsin. I'm a journalist of long standing, hailing from Lahore, currently living in London. I'm looking at what's happening between America and Iran. And if it leads to war, this will have enormous repercussions not only for the region, but for the world. In order to understand what has actually brought us to this pass, we must take a deep dive into history. So come with me, let's have a look. At the turn of the last century, the British Empire was the largest imperial project in the world. They were constantly in search of new energy supplies for industrial growth, and they had realized that coal as a source of energy had run its course. They had also recognized the value of a new source of energy, oil, and this they knew was a potential substitute for coal, and that it had enormous potential to fuel growth. The problem was that the British needed to locate and acquire these precious oil reserves before other competitive European powers like Germany could do the same. From their knowledge of history, the British knew that the ancient Persians and Mesopotamians had used natural oil seeps where oil comes to the surface for illumination, waterproofing, and for medicine. In the 1890s, a French geologist, Jacques de Morgan, published studies and maps highlighting potential oil-rich sites in Western Persia, especially Khuzestan, and this came to the attention of the British. William Knox Darcy was one such Englishman. He had made a fortune in Australia prospecting for gold. One of Darcy's acquaintances was Sir Henry Drummond, a British diplomat who introduced Darcy to Antoine Kitabchi Khan. What a lovely name. Antoine Kitabchi Khan. Khan Sahab represented Persian interests and was persuaded to prospect for oil in Khuzestan. Kitabchi Khan introduced Darcy to the then king of Persia, Muzaffar Ali Shah Qajar. We hear the Shah was inordinately fond of opium and happened to be in a stupor most of the time. It was at such an opportune moment, with the drug-addled Shah lolling about on cushions, can't you see it, that the clever Mr. Darcy approached him. Salam, Shahanshah. Ali Jah. Khahish mikonam. Your Majesty, Your Sublime Majesty, I would be very grateful if you could give me a little hearing. Can't you just hear it? So the drug-addled Shah was persuaded in a matter of moments to give the clever Mr. Darcy the mother of all concessions. In May 1901, Mr. Darcy took away from Muzaffar al-Din Shah Qajar a 60-year concession, granting him to explore exclusive rights to produce and export oil. The deal, which I call the mother of all deals, was 84% to the British and a mere 16% for the Persians. Normally, it's 50-50. 50 for the country of origin and 50 for the prospector, but not in this case. In 1908, Darcy and his team arrived at Maidan Naftun, Nafta being the Arabic word for oil, the field of oil in Khuzestan, southwestern Persia. This site was later known as the Masjid-e-Sulaiman. In the same month, he and his associates struck a massive oil gusher at 1180 feet. Darcy then formed the Anglo-Persian Oil Company, and Winston Churchill, then First Lord of the Admiralty, i.e. head of the British Navy, understood this critical shift from coal to oil for the Royal Navy and got the British government to buy a 51% stake, a majority stake, in APOC in 1914. This solidified British control over the resource of Persia. And this British stake formed the basis of the British Petroleum Company, still known as BP. Yeah, infamous BP had its roots back then in Persia and in this mother of all deals. The next Qajar king to come to the throne was Sultan Ahmad Shah. He in turn was deposed by a military commander, Reza Khan, who led a coup in 1921 and became Minister for War and Prime Minister. Reza Khan accumulated so much power that he got the Iranian parliament, known as the Majlis, to officially end the Qajar dynasty in October 1925, and he then formally acceded to the throne and took the title of Shahanshah in April 1926. He took the regnal name of Reza Shah Pahlavi. In time, he was succeeded by his son, Reza Shah II, whom we know as the last Shahanshah of Iran. The new Shah came to the throne but couldn't really govern effectively, and discontent against his reign grew. Also because the Persians now wanted increased control over their own natural resources. So soon, in 1951, they pressurized the Shah to hold elections, and sure enough, Mohammad Mosaddegh, the nationalist, was elected to the Majlis and became Prime Minister. Mosaddegh introduced many reforms, such as giving social security to the poor. He carried out land reforms on large landed estates, and he levied higher taxes on the rich. But his most crucial reform was nationalization of the Anglo-Persian Oil Company. He couldn't be forgiven for that, could he? Sure enough, in 1953, following what is known as the Abadan crisis, in which Mosaddegh refused to yield to the British and persisted with the nationalization of Iran's oil industry, Persia was now known as Iran. He was overthrown in a coup d'etat by the British MI5 and the American CIA. The Shah was reinstalled as an all-powerful monarch, and he proceeded to become a faithful ally of the West. Well, naturally, they had put him back on the throne. And this coalition was now led by the US, because post-Second World War, Pax Britannica had given way to Pax Americana. From then onwards, the Shah was widely seen as a puppet of the US, severely damaging his legitimacy. He followed an aggressive modernization policy, known as the White Revolution. He was in a great hurry to westernize. And this, his policy, clashed with the traditional values of Iranians, fueling discontent. The Shah's policies also led to severe socio-economic disparity. The wealthy became fabulously rich. Nobody really cared about the poor. And this gave rise to a unified opposition, which the Shah tried to repress brutally through his secret service, the Savak. This didn't dampen the opposition. It made them ever more unified and ever more determined. Protests against the Shah began in earnest in 1978. And the slogans, "Death to the Shah, Death to America," rang out all over Iran. Marg bar Shah, Marg bar America. And they were shown on television screens all over the world. Widespread strikes and demonstrations paralyzed Iran. And in January 1979, the Shah was forced to leave Iran, never to return. We wonder how the US might have reacted to the Shah's ouster had the dithering Mr. Carter not been in the Oval Office at the time. If a hard right government had been in power, it might have supported the Shah in his brutal suppression of the opposition, and his ouster may have been delayed. But the Carter administration was caught off guard, and they abandoned the Shah and never looked back. Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, who represented the unified opposition, then returned to Iran from exile and formed government. The very next year, Saddam Hussein of Iraq attacked Iranian territory with US backing, aiming to weaken the Iranian Revolution and the Islamic Republic. In later years, the US also imposed punishing sanctions on Iran. Iran managed to stave off Iraq by sacrificing thousands of young lives over many years and squandering precious treasure in fighting off the enemy. What Iran learned from this punishing conflict was that it could not afford direct military conflict because it was too costly in lives and treasure. So what did Iran do? It adopted asymmetric methods in fighting its opponents. The regime learned that it had to counter the West's regional partners like Saudi Arabia and Israel, and it did so by establishing proxies in the Middle East. In 1982, the Islamic Republic of Iran helped in the creation of Hezbollah in Lebanon, that's no secret. And they united Shia groups and provided financial and military support. In the same year, the Islamic Republic formed the Badr Brigades, consisting of Iraqi Shia defectors and exiles, and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Later, the Republic also armed the Houthis in Yemen and Hamas in Palestine. These proxies became a formal alliance, which was known as the Axis of Resistance. Iran's Quds force within the Iranian Revolutionary Guards managed these proxies. With increasing tensions in the Middle East, Iran began to acquire nuclear technology, and the US and Israel sought to covertly degrade the Iranian nuclear program, including the use of assassinations of Iranian nuclear scientists. So you have to see the development of Iran as an oppositionist to America and its proxies in this context. Increased economic sanctions definitely damaged Iran's economy and degraded it. And naturally, the people of Iran were exhausted. So public pressure was mounted on the government. It decided to negotiate when Barack Obama became President of the United States. So, in 2015, Iran signed a treaty with the US, UK, China, France, and Russia to allow monitoring of its nuclear program, coupled with restrictions on development in exchange for economic sanctions relief. The regime had to do this for their people. But in 2018, President Trump, the orange man, he became president for the first time. And he unilaterally withdrew America from this treaty and imposed maximum sanctions on Iran. So what could Iran do? It once again began stockpiling enriched uranium, and they suspended monitoring. Of course they suspended monitoring. In 2025, Israel launched airstrikes on Iran's nuclear sites and decapitated Iran's military leaders. Decapitated means killed, assassinated. They also assassinated their proxy warfare leaders like Hassan Nasrallah of Hezbollah and many Iranian scientists. We cut to the present day, and it appears that the US and its staunchest ally in the Middle East, Israel, are determined to overthrow the Islamic Republic of Iran, even if it means all-out war.